This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
DavePorter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner. I'm excited for today. I've jumped on a phone call with this guy before, and you can tell there's some substance to what he's doing, and his growth doesn't lie. So, super excited to welcome Charlie Ramshaw. How are you, sir?
Good, Angel. I appreciate the opportunity to get on speak and talk about the business. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, man. I've been watching RamClean closely. Before we invite anybody to be a guest, we like to see like leadership. We like to see what they're up to. And honestly, man, you were just like a pretty straightforward, straight up guy. And I mean, your growth doesn't lie, man. 720% growth in the last 3 years, huh?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic ride, and there's been a lot of turmoil with it, right? So I mean, with that, going through COVID, post COVID, a bunch of different new markets, trial and error, figuring things out, being a young, president, CEO of a company, it's a never ending thing. It's a never stop, growing thing, coaching thing, understanding thing, self-reflecting thing. But you couldn't do anything that was possible without, our teammates. We got very flexible staff. Obviously you can see I'm in my basement right now. We built an office in Champaign, Illinois, and we have letter of intents out on buildings here and then looking at other buildings. So we're just in massive flux and growth mode. But, if people that are close by me know that that's the only way I would like it, right? No day is ever the same for me. And that's why I love this business. I'm here, there, and everywhere. And it's fun, man. I wouldn't, it's been a fantastic ride, and it's awesome.
So I'm gonna, again, no pre-scripted. I love asking questions. I love where things are gonna go. Of course, we're gonna touch on the sales part, but before we get into that, man, I think so you said president, CEO, young president and CEO. I think a lot of us or a lot of people like to call themselves CEO when they begin a business. But what was the transition for you when it's like, okay, I'm a business owner, like I work in the business, on the business, I'm the one doing everything. And then you become president of a large organization like the one you manage yourself. What is some advice you would give somebody just that is business owner starting to see some traction to start acting like a president and CEO versus every hat possible on the bottom and more of a cleaning?
I think it's funny that, and I think you just spoke with them, Rob, but we were just having the conversation, right? When you wake up one day and everything's handled, right? So there's a role that's been that handles every single aspect of your business. And so then what are you going to focus your energy, time, money, and resources on, right? So, I've done, I'm not a micromanager by nature at all, right? So I'm in the realm of just continuing to hire and train and figure things out as we've gone along. Not really one to sit back and sit there and say, what if or whatever. With people in different roles in my organization. So I think as you make that transition, as I think back to my early days when I started out of my parents' basement and I would change my clothes and go clean, to where we sit here today with 200 employees and multiple markets and lots of exciting things on the horizon, right? I think it's just in your people, right? I think in your hiring and then in your coaching and your development of the folks that you have that are on your team that are going to bat for you to represent the brand day in and day out. So as you continue to make that transition, it's really and getting really good people that believe in your vision and where you want to go and what you want to do in your company, right? Because if you don't have those team members on board and you have you're rowing uphill up the river against the grain and they're not having your back when you look behind you, then you're not doing the right thing. So I think painting the vision and delivering on the vision, especially for us, right? I coach my staff up all the time where I don't ever, barring that we have a recession or, we had COVID, I don't want to be in a stagnant company, right? When you're in a stagnant company and you don't see growth and growth opportunities, who wants to be involved in a company? In my perspective, right? That, they've hit a glass ceiling and that's their role and that's what it's going to be. I think, the exciting part about us is, going to different markets, doing different things, allowing people to be able to, bring things to the table. There's never a dumb idea. Just tons of moving things going on all the time. It's exciting, right? I mean, just like this podcast, doing this with you and doing several other interviews. I mean, it's good stuff, right? I mean, and it's good, to talk about and walk through and plan and go through them there. So I think definitely going from, a million in business to multiple millions, I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's just in the team that you develop around you is the biggest thing, man. If I contribute to anything.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I gotta ask you, I mean, I've been in companies, and even now, man, I think anywhere, even like me hanging out with you, like even when you pick your friendships, it's almost like vision is super important, right? Like as much as I wanna pop a cold beer with my friend, if my friend wants to pop a cold beer, but I don't see that he wants to go anywhere, or there's no drive for him to build something, to have an exciting life, like you almost wonder like, do I want this person in my life? So I could tell you're
Sure.
good at sales because you sold. I mean, all your employees bought into a bigger vision when you were smaller. How did
Yep.
you? I guess as somebody's listening to this, they're gonna be like, "Oh man, I have 5 cleaners and 1 admin right now, and oh man, it's hard, but I know I'm going places. How do I sell them on that vision? What are some things I can do as a cleaning owner to get everybody to move with me?"
Sure. Yeah, I think the big thing is, man, is I'm just a big dumb animal, and I just keep moving forward, right? I mean, you
I
you
love
wake
that.
up as a cleaning owner, it's not glorious, right? I mean, and quite frankly, I had a lot of businesses when I was 24, 25. But what I really found out and what I really loved about the cleaning business is that one, residual income. Everyone loves the first of the month when you get to bill all your invoices. But two, then in which helps and the stability of the business, right? But then, to the people, right? I'm in the business of scaling humans, right? So I'm in the business of, touching a lot of lives. I mean, we have a lot of employees, and all those employees are relying on me to make the right decisions so that their paycheck hits every other Friday, right? So that they get dinner, that I don't mess it up, that we do the right things. So, I mean, for me, really, it's in that, right? I mean, that you continue to tell them and paint the pictures, and like you said, the numbers don't lie, right? The growth doesn't lie. So then, when you actually deliver on what you're saying, it's just like when you go out and sell, and you're selling a quality company, and then you deliver. Well, guess what? You have that customer for life. It's the same with the employees, right? If you're telling them you're going to do something, and guess what? You do it. Well, then that they have your back, right? I mean, I just had the conversation with one of my employees. It's long standing with me since I started in the Cincinnati market 3.5, 4 years ago, and he was one of my first employees, and he worked for several other big companies in the Cincinnati market. And he told me today, he goes, "Charlie, I'll never leave you. I love you." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that, Ruben." And he's like, "Everything you've ever told me, you've delivered on. You've never let me down. Everybody else has always failed me, or said something and then shifted the plan." Well, here I don't try to do that, right? What I say is what's going to happen, and yeah, you're going to have issues that come up, or especially in cleaning and stuff like that. But as a business owner, what I say is what I mean, and that's what I hold high, to a high standard. So, yeah, man, that's just, yeah, I remember those days. Well, I just had one manager and myself, and I had a situation in 2017, right? I wasn't really going to be a cleaning owner per se, right? It was just a business that I kind of had on idle. I'm from a family business of real estate, and so it was all I had to be able to make the transition from comfy corner office in a real estate company and a little cleaning business on the side, and I had some of my own rentals. To this is all I have to leave the family business and the salary and the benefits to go all in on the cleaning, and that's what we've done since 2017, 2018 ish. And we've kind of just went all in with the cleaning, and that's what's shaken out. So it's been It's been a fun, magical ride. Lots of ups and downs, especially with COVID and and crazy deal. And then to where we are now, it's fantastic. But I think really our vision and our strongholds taking place, and it's good, man.
I have to ask the question. We don't have to spend too much time on this one, but my brain just wants to ask it. Why Ram? Like, where does the Ram come from? That's because of your last name, right?
Yeah, my last name's Ramshaw. I was driving down Kirby Avenue. I told my graphic designer buddy from college, I said, hey, make me some logos. We went on 6 or 7. I said, I need a tougher Ram. And that was it, man. So
the reason I asked that, I totally forgot. I forgot you had already told me. So I knew the answer actually as soon as I asked it. It's almost like I asked myself. But the funny part, or the reason I say that, man, is you mentioned you were like, I'm just a dumb animal. I just keep going. I keep moving forward. If you think of a ram, though, like a ram is going against another little ram, or even a wall. I've seen it like literally like want to tackle a wall. And even though everybody knows it might not be possible, it goes hard enough and it will make a lot of damage. And so I was just thinking like, oh man, you almost like embody what a big ram, like just full force. I don't care what's in front of me. I'm just going to hit it and I'm going to keep moving. I don't know if that was on purpose. It doesn't look like it, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to be that way, and that's the mentality you have to be, right? I think especially like because otherwise coming from like either massive amounts of funding or backing, which I don't have, right? To go into these new markets, to think that, to say, okay, I'm going to go into this market and make it profitable. And then, because like really every time you go into a new market, you're starting your company over, right? I mean, it's quite frankly, especially without doing a large capital investment, it's pretty much asinine, but whatever. I don't really care. So because we're about to go to Lexington and Louisville, and it's from ground zero again. So right, it's going to be sucking in the red until we're fortunate enough to start that account with a very large church where not from complete zero, but pretty much zero. And then Columbus market started from zero, and it's doing very well now. And obviously, I started Cincinnati with nothing too. So yeah, I mean, to go into these new markets, you have to be like that because then you're getting it all again, right? You got to find the people, you got to make the relationships, you got to build the trust, you got to do all that stuff. That in a market like Cincinnati, where you're well known, you have tons of employees, tons of infrastructure, tons of stuff, brand, everything else. It's very easy, right? And when you have multiple, the hierarchies built, everything else. Well, yeah, great. It's very easy to do it here, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue to do what we're doing in other markets, and so we'll continue to go try, man. That's all we can do.
I'm confident you guys are gonna crush it, man. Let me ask you, so some of your sales philosophies. So a lot of people here, it's fun. It's weird. They love cleaning. They don't like selling. They go and sell, but then they expect people to just. This is my biggest pet peeve. I don't know. They do a walkthrough and they expect people to respond, give them the contract within the first week. They stop following up. They don't build value during the walkthrough. I've heard some people send people to their walkthroughs that are not even trained to do walkthroughs just to go get a scope of work, right? So what are some of your philosophies when it comes down to doing the walkthroughs and winning the business?
Sure. Well, first of all, I try to win the person first, right? So if I'm dealing with, you deal with, what's amazing thing about cleaning is I've dealt with CEOs, I've dealt with purchasing agents, I've dealt with admins, I've dealt with, like the other day I just reached and took out a stack of cards and I read off 17 different titles of business of other people that that have inquired or I've went and sold to, right? So every person has an agenda, right? Are they number crunching? Do they just care about quality? So you got to understand what really they're after. And then, but quite frankly, at the end of the day, really when I go into them, they're a human, right? So I try to relate to them. I try to understand. I value, I think that I've been exposed to a lot of things in my life where I can relate to, tons of different aspects. So really, I think getting to know the person first, and then, I say it all the time, right? We're not building the rocket. I'm not SpaceX, right? I'm not going to the moon. We just clean around the rocket, right? So what we do isn't oh, it's just mind blowing, right? No, it's not. So, how do we, especially if you're not trying to be a low cost provider and you're trying to, sell a quality product, to these people, and you're going to be at a higher rate, well, then you better back it up, right? So I go in and sell with a sales rep here locally, my director of sales, but he goes in and does all the, the scopes of work and, the warm and fuzzy and makes the proposals and all that stuff. And he also does a fantastic job in it, relating to the nuts and bolts side. But my biggest thing is just going in and relating to the customer, right? And understanding what their needs are, and then just letting them know that we can deliver, right? I mean, we've had deals that have been, I mean, I'm in 2 deals right now that are in contract, very large deals. They took 9 months, back and forth. What's this look like? Hey, can you do this? Getting different certifications, understanding it, letting them know, the scale of our company, and if I give my 30-day notice and they fall out, can you back it up? Can all this stuff, right? And you're giving your word as the CEO and the owner of the company that your team will deliver, and I don't take that lightly. So again, right, I think it's just relating to the customer. And then once you have, especially in markets that are established, it's very easy to be able to then to make them a believer, right, and make them understand. So it's yeah.
Yeah, no, especially when you have those big like accounts that they're like, oh, you see that building, I clean it. You see this keeps it clean. But let me ask you, when you do a walkthrough, I love what you said. You got to win the person over, especially if you're gonna charge more. Even if you're 5% more, 3% more, doesn't matter. Like you have to win the person. Some people might be listening to this and they're like, huh, I don't know how to win the person over. What are
Sure.
some things that you do? Do you do like a before you head to a walkthrough? Do you like look up the person? Do you not do any form of preparation before you get there, or
Nope.
have you been doing this long enough that? So, what are some questions or what are some things you do in the walkthrough to try to get the person to relate?
Sure.
Is it your energy alone? I mean, your
two,
energy alone, honestly, is
two
badass.
years 2 years, they want to tell me everything, so I just listen, and then I let them steer the conversation, and then I just feed off that and just and then let it roll, right? I mean, they're going to steer you to wherever you want. I mean, we were in the thing yesterday, the 60,000 square foot engineering office. The lady was just pissed off that she was paying too much money and she wasn't getting any quality. And she was like, tell me what's wrong with this room. And I'm pretty OCD by nature anyway. So I just list off 15 things. And she was like, well, it's about time somebody sees it like me, right? So instantly right there in that question and response, she's already leaning towards I like these people, right? So then I just let her know, hey, I'm the CEO of the company. I own the company, and David and the sales rep. I said, this is what we're after, right? This is exactly the kind of accounts we want, and knowing that you're a customer that wants to pay more for the quality aspect, that's what we'll deliver, right? Going around her facility and looking at the closets and everything else, there's a lot of things that can be improved upon, right? But when you're walking around, and I say it all the time, I only get that 30 minutes to an hour with that person to make an impression, right? I don't come in a 3-piece suit or this, that, and the other. And, usually just wear my RamClean stuff and a polo and walk in and just do my thing, right? I am who I am, and I don't change for whatever account I go into, right? It's just who I am. You like it or you don't, and it is what it is, right? But I know we stand behind, what product we're going to bring in on a consistent basis, every day. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a big deal when you go into those type of people and make that connection, man. I mean, it's not like I go in with a script. I've never been a script guy. I mean, hell, I was on this thing I was talking to Rob before this and on a meeting and just popped on this call with you and we started talking. I mean, it's just, I'm not an operations person. I'm not a script guy. I'm just a go guy. So
No, I think it doesn't seem like somebody listening is like, oh, I still don't know the step one, step two, step three, but I don't think that's it. That's why I love what you just said. You said a few things that I think are golden nuggets. One, I am who I am, and I'm just gonna be me when I show up. I think a lot of people, they almost try to put this like facade or this fake like, oh, it's a facility manager for a huge company, got it. It's a property manager, it's this, and then you almost try to like change who you are every single time versus like, yo, this is me. This is how I'm showing up. What's up? And also the second thing is you're really assertive in what you do, which is really cool. Like even when me and you spoke, you're like, dude, just text me. And then I text you and you're like, let's set this up. Like it's like you're there to do business. You're gonna do it. We're gonna like vibe every time we called. I was like, okay, I
Sure.
can talk to this guy for like hours, even though it was like 2 minutes.
Yep.
But I love that you're like assertive. Like you told that you actually tell a facility, like you would actually tell your client or prospect, hey, honestly, you're the perfect client that we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that values X, X, and X. So I want to do what it takes to win your business. Would you say things like that, or do you not try to be that assertive in?
I mean, I've told more people no this year when we've showed up than I have yes.
How did you
Right?
handle that? Tell us a story there.
No,
'Cause
like
I'm
you
sure
just
some
walk
people
in
here
there,
don't do it.
and right, we're transitioning our business where the accounts are getting bigger and bigger, and you're getting more selective, right? So, if if it doesn't fit our criteria, even after we've tried to vet them, I walk in and then say, hey, you know what, this account's not for us. I'm sorry, I apologize, because trust me, I didn't want to waste my time and I didn't want to waste your time. So, before you go through all the hoopla of showing us around everything else, this isn't going to work for me. And I've done that several times, right? And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, it just doesn't work." And you try to vet that and you try to do as much as you can up front, but right, I mean, time is money, and especially when you're in as many markets and you're doing those things, and a lot of times you kind of piss off customers because you're asking those questions up front. And they're like, "Don't you just want my business?" Well, no, we don't want just any business, right? It's unfortunate. That it is, as where I started, where you took everything, right, and you had a residential team, and that goes away, and you used to take every small account, and that goes away, and you continue to redefine, your what is what you want, right,
Yeah.
and who you want, and what fits your mold, right. The other thing is, do I want to deal with a pain in the ass customer? Not really, man. I'll drop you. If I think my team's delivering and you have unrealistic expectations, especially if your budget's not going to match your mouth, well, take a hike, right? So,
Your budget's not gonna match your mouth. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, it doesn't work for me, man, and it doesn't work for my team, right? Because you'll have customers that'll wear you out, and then that's not fair to the customers that are fantastic and understand it's not going to be perfect every single time, because there's one thing about cleaning is if you look for something wrong every day you go to your facility, there's something going to be wrong. We clean 1,000,000 square foot places, 2,000,000 square foot places. If you say, oh, they forgot Cheryl's corner of her desk to dust, well, is that worth, the 2-page email? No, it's not. So, you know, so yeah, that's why, being yourself and but I think but that goes to the employees too, right? When they know that the owner of the company has their back and they're doing all they can and the best they can, that's okay, right? That goes back to them having your back, right? Because I'm in too many places to think that the world's on fire all the time, right? So if you haven't, if you're going to bat for your team and they're doing the best you can, I'm not saying we're perfect, but if they're doing great, and then I actually show up and look at the facility, I'm like, yeah, it's unrealistic expectations. Let me see the change. I mean, you're like, what? Like, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, oh, they didn't shut the towel dispenser. Well, okay, great. They shut the towel dispenser. Sorry. Like, on and on and on, right? It never ends. But yeah, I think that goes in full circle about having your employees back and having your teams back. I think goes a long way, man.
Yeah, I think again, man, the biggest thing that I'm feeding off of you right now is like the clarity on who am I going for, what do we stand for, and who am I? Like, who am I and what do we stand for as a company is like clear as water, right? And then good water, of course.
Sure.
And then the other one is like who you're here to serve. What have you done as far as like maybe some like personal development or mentors or anything like that, or what are some ways that I guess you've been able to develop yourself to get really clear on who you are, who your company is, and who you go after? What are some like advice there?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I was very fortunate to be, born and raised into, my mother and father have just been this fantastic role models to be in their wake, right? My father's ran a real estate company for 40 years. He's he's honest as the day is long. He does it the right way. He does it the right way every day, and he doesn't veer from his moral compass and his standards. Right. So you know, having the being able to see that from afar, and actually being blessed enough to be in the company with him and working hand in hand before I really took the adventure to move to Cincinnati and start my deal here. My mother and father, it gets no better, right? I mean, my dad's amassed a pretty sizable real estate portfolio in Champaign, and my mom's been his cheerleader the whole time. They make a perfect couple together where he yings, she yangs, and when he lacks maybe confidence in some areas, she's back there kicking him in his ass and pushing him forward. And I think I say it all the time. I think my parents had sex at the right time and made me, right. So right, where she's 110 one way, and he's very introvert, analytical, and very intelligent man. So and then you made me. So I'm very, very thankful just to my parents. But right, I have the other thing is having like you said, talking about friendships, right? I think the older I've gotten, I think surrounding yourself with like-minded people that have the same goals and attributes, right? That that go to work and work hard and continue to do the that iron sharpens iron, right? My best friend and I, Tony Arena, talk about it here all the time. He's made in 3 years made an unbelievable stab at the logistics business, and I was fortunate enough to be in his office and see what he got to do firsthand, coming from corporate America and doing it, and seeing his sense of urgency and his pace, and that energy level and that level of and he's an operator by nature, right? So something that I'm not good at, right? But I can go do other things. But seeing an operator that just can sit there and just will it, for 12 hours a day every day, it's fascinating, right? And I mean, it's amazing, and seeing what he's done in 3 years' time is incredible, right? So, but I think your circle becomes smaller and smaller. It just is what it is, because you don't align, right? I don't. Yeah, I go out and have a good time, and we definitely work hard, play hard, but I think risk it for the biscuit, right? I think I was fortunate when I was a kid to just put it all on the line. I didn't have a lot of weekends in my 20s. And just continue to go to work and figure it out and redefine the process and coach and train and do those things. And I think definitely as far as the personal development, right? I mean, I think personally, I think the relationships are a huge thing, but I think, and I did so much traveling, my one of the people that I love the most is, Gary Vaynerchuk. I think, he will go down as the GOAT, right? I think, what he, his is a lot of pull and a push, but, I think, a lot of people, if they don't really know him, they don't really understand the full story. But I've been fortunate enough to know and meet Gary and understand tons of, heard hours and hours of taking his content. I think Ed Milet is a fantastic, personal development and wide versed in what he's bringing to the table. I think Andy Frisella gives it to you exactly how you need it, right? I think some days
I love his podcast, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think some days you just really need your face kicked in, your teeth kicked in, right? When you don't want to wake up and you don't want to do it and you don't want to do the hard things, right? I think Andy Ferris, or what's the Ferris guy, when he made the Tools of the Titan book. I mean,
Ferris, yes.
when you get to look at what all the high producers do, on a day in and day out basis, and everybody's different, right? I mean, Jeff Bezos, like, I don't like to go to work till 10 o'clock, and I make 5 to 6 decisions a day that affect a $2 trillion company. Well, and he's earned that right. Was that what he was doing back in the day when he started? Probably not. But what's he doing now to think about that at a high level? I like to spend time with my family in the morning. I love taking my children to school. It's just something that makes me tick. And really, I really love it, right? I think there's, I almost take it out of a page of Garth Brooks' book. Where,
oh my God, I'm loving this.
Yeah, because, he took those prime years off in his career to be with his children, right? And I not saying I'm taking them off, but I spend a lot of time with my children, especially of late, in the last year or so, where I just because I'm just so obsessed with them. I have three boys, beautiful wife, and my children are incredible, and they're everything's new, and they just love their dad and mom, obviously, and football and sports and all these things are coming all the time to them, and I just want to be a part of it. So,
Have they gotten a chance to go to the Bengals game?
oh, for sure, man. Yeah, we bunch of Bengals went Super Bowl last year in the Bengals game. So yeah, and we did the whole UC thing, went down to the Cotton Bowl, so we definitely rode that wave, man. But my son's taking a love and interest to the football, and but yeah, man, it's all good. We're very grateful position that we've been in, and yeah. So
I also feel there's a work for many hours versus work efficiently when you work, right? What I mean by that is like, if you put me out on the field, I'll be okay. Like, I'll be honest, I'll be okay. I'll get done in 8 hours what a normal person gets done in 8 hours. Now, if you put me behind my computer in my regular station, what might take someone 8 hours, just give me 2.5. Right? Give me 2.5 and I'll get it done. So I also know that even like you've already built the life. I mean, you did not build all this business to have to sacrifice time with your family, right? That
sure.
doesn't, you sacrificed early to not have to sacrifice this, which is awesome. You dropped a lot of influencers in there, but I'm also confident that if I were to just shadow you for a day after you dropped off your kids, you probably work harder than a lot of other CEOs that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, it goes in swings, man. I mean, really, especially like I say, in starting new markets, it's a ton of driving, it's a ton of traveling. I mean, I don't know what I've drove this year. I mean, 60, 70,000 miles. I mean, just a ton, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and they're all short. They're trips, and I've had people, where I was to a point where I had assistants driving me, so I could work and do the things, but. I mean, again, right? I mean, if you have a good team in place, you can make decisions that, that they know that they're going to get it done, right? Where they're doing the work, and I'm just making the decision, and that's really to the point where I've come to, right? Again, it's having fantastic team members and everybody that's on board and sees the vision and understands that, hey, this is a career stop for me, right? Where I don't think what we've seen over the last 3 years is going to stop, and I know that. The trajectory and is what RamClean and whatever is in the future to come will provide me whatever I need, right? So, yeah, and it's just we're very thankful. I mean, I know Gary talks about it all the time, but to be born in 2022 to not have to have a desktop, I mean, yeah, probably addicted to my phone, probably, right? But I mean, to be able to sit there and make decisions and move things forward from your phone, from email, calls, and text, it's awesome. Does it sometimes, you get slapped by your old lady in the back of the head because you're not paying attention to your kids? Well, yeah, and that especially when you're as hyperactive as me, right? I mean, you want to just get back to customers. You want to get things done. You want to keep things moving. You want to ask those questions. You want to you want to keep pushing the ball forward. So, being that they have that technology at your fingertips, that makes it pretty easy. So.
Oh, I love that. You're dropping in a lot of gold right here, man. So I have two more questions or three, and then we'll call it. But here's the first one. 9 months to close the deal, or 9 months in the making to get a shot at closing or winning the business. How did you stay, I guess, kind of put throughout the process? A lot of people give up after 30 days, or was there ever a moment in those 9 months where the prospect didn't like reach out in like 30 days and you had to be the one hunting back, or
Oh,
how
for
do you
sure.
say, okay.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and we even went back to where he tried to talk about price, adjusting scope, getting back to the drawing board, where they changed over director of operations, and then, going back, more site visits, redoing the scope, redefining it, then, looking at it. Then you go to the contract and going back and forth on red lines, and then, give, hold, and take, so. And the other thing is like massive deals from like, bigger companies, they just they're just glacially slow, right? If they're looking at changeover, 200 facilities and they're just like, okay, gather all the information and look at it and review. And I mean, just some of they just take forever, man. But it's okay. I mean, that's the big thing about, when you look at your deal board, you got to have 20, 30 of them going at all times. So
I think that's that right there. You have to have pipeline. If not, and I always tell this to people, when you obsess over one deal, that's because you don't have enough pipeline. When you have a lot of pipeline, like bandwidth wise, like no matter if one's 1 million and the other one is 150,000, like you will not be able to focus or put your attention just on one, like because you have so many in the pipeline. But I think a lot of people, they grab one big one, and then they're like, okay, I'm not doing anything for a while. I'm gonna win this one. I feel good, and then like that's when you start getting married to a result. A lot of bad things can happen mentally.
sure.
Um, Let me ask you this then. Two more questions then. Uh,
Sure.
the question here is like when you don't, you know what? No, actually, I'll ask you this one. What do you look for in a team member, especially someone that's like your director of sales and your salespeople? What do you look for from them when you hire?
Um, well,
Or
one,
do you not, right? I don't know.
from the resume standpoint, right? You want to have some proof of purchase, right? I mean, when you're going through it and you're evaluating, that's just first glance. But then, really, I'm a big fan of, before I hire somebody, to have lunch or dinner with them, to get to really understand. Not like, oh, hey, they grab their silverware like this, or they put their hands on the table. Like, no, I don't give a shit about that stuff. But like who they are as a person, right? And how's the conversation? How's, especially, I mean, for sales is one thing, but like even anything, like, for what's your walk of life? What's your story, right? I mean, I want to know really who the person is. I mean, the company's big, but it's not big. So for me to be able to take that time to be able to, bring in something like, hey, or, I know it sounds like so cliche, but you're going to get along with your other teammates, right? Because I'm not going to put up with that shit. So, let's just cut to the chase and understand, like, this is a team. We're trying to go achieve a goal. So I'm going to need you to I'm going to need you to get along with other people, right? And getting to know them. Because it's very costly in our business to, because anybody can say anything in an interview. It's unbelievable. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh, I crush that. Blah blah blah. And then you get like, well, you're not doing any of that, right? I mean, you're not working hard. You're not doing what you're supposed to. And definitely, especially in starting new markets, right? That's definitely something I learned, and had to figure out, right? And not being a micromanager, it's one of those things I had to learn, where it's definitely data driven. Where, hey, you either hitting your numbers or you're not, and that speaks for itself. I don't need to sit there and understand what you're doing in that market, or what you're not doing. So you're not producing, and luckily that's why you have the CRMs and have the software to be able to understand that. So it makes it very easy to do that. But yeah, man, I think just having candid conversations with people, and like you say, laying out your vision. Hey, do you buy in it or not? And then trying to make it work. So
I love it, man. Well, cool, man. Let me ask you, if somebody's listening or didn't listen to this, they look at the title, they see Charlie, they check you out, Ramshaw, they check out RamCleaning, they're like, oh, shoot, 720% growth. These guys are for real. But before I listen to this podcast, I'm going to listen to the last advice he gives, and if it's good, I'll listen to it. So if you had to be remembered in this podcast by one thing, one story, one win, or advice you want to give somebody here, what would that final advice that you give someone would be?
sure, take a chance. Dream, and then just go execute on it. I mean, that's it, man. America, especially here in North America, man, if you drive your car like I do so much and you see all the buildings and all the opportunity, come on, man. You can go do whatever you want here. So I mean, it's amazing. So that's it.
I love that's there you go. 3 words, take a chance. I don't think we have team virtually. We have some teams like team members internationally, and I don't think people. I get to hang out with them every day. I don't think people learn to appreciate the U.S. like they should, and the amount of opportunity. Sure, do we
Yeah.
have our faults? Do we have bad? Sure, that's a country. Welcome to a
Sure.
country, but the opportunity that you have here to build from nothing, like you can get a vacuum, you can get like a backpack vacuum on credit card, and go earn your carpets, and then pay it off, and then you can go into a bunch of freaking money. Like,
It's a long game,
welcome to the
buddy. It's not a
U.S.,
short
baby.
game. Everybody's kind of trying to look for the grand slam. It's not a grand slam. It's in the singles and the doubles.
100%. And I know tech startups or tech companies that look on paper that they're making a lot of money fast, but there's a reason even the Inc. 5000 doesn't look at actual margin and profit and money coming in because it's just hard. So make sure that take a chance. Charlie Ramshaw, I don't even know what to call you anymore. Mr. Ramshaw sounds good. Thank you so much for being in the podcast, man. Really
Yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it.
Dude, we look forward to Rob and I think Rob and I are going to get out there in December and do your event and everything like that. So
Yeah, let me know. I was speaking to Rob today. It's gonna be in November, and you guys would be just an awesome, just ball of energy and success to bring. And there's gonna be some companies your size, which would be really, really fun to
awesome,
see how
man.
you guys. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you so much, and good luck in this NFL season as it kicks off, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Stay in
You
touch.
got it, brother.